All right, Giovanni. So let's talk about the BRRRR method. What is BRRRR? What does that stand for? And what's involved in this strategy?
Yeah. So it starts off with buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and then repeat the process, right? So that's the BRRRR method ultimately. So when I go and in order to have the BRRRR method to even, get started, you really need to have access to either private money or hard money, right? And private money is either a friend, family member, close, acquaintance, whoever it is, someone who already knows, likes, and trusts you, right? A hard money lender may be a mortgage lender who has access to, cash through another investor, and they charge points, and it's a little bit more fee, there's a lot more fees involved, right? On that hard money aspect. But realistically, you need to have access to some cash up front. And then you need to go out and make sure that you find a piece of real estate that maybe that you can add value to, right? Because the only way for the BRRRR method to work is you need to be able to add value, whether that's raising the rents or improving the property by repairing it or remodeling it, whatever the case may be. You need to go ahead and find a really solid deal. And that could be hard to come by, especially on your local MLS, right? So for me, and I think for you as well, Vitaly, is, finding off-market deals as much as possible, right? Every deal that I've bought has been off market. It's never seen the MLS. I think if anything goes on the MLS, is a great tool for you. But I think being able to network is important as an investor. And I think that's crucial with the BRRRR method. You need to be able to kind of get out there and meet the right people and find the right connections that may have access to those off-market deals, whether that's a wholesaler or a real estate professional like myself, who is in the trenches on a day-to-day basis, looking at investment properties all day long, right? And I think being able to find that network, right? So that is another tool that's like necessity when it comes to the BRRRR method. And then basically once you identify that property and you know that it's a solid building that you're able to pull your money out of, your initial investment out of, then you go ahead and purchase it, right? And then start the renovations on it, whether that's trying to move some tenants around in the building, or maybe you have to put a tenant into a new property, whether it's a friend or someone that a fellow investor that is willing to help you out and they have a renovated unit and you want to be able to take that tenant, put them in a really nice new place, then you're able to go ahead and renovate their unit. Because a lot of times these units that I purchase at least are outdated and have been lived in for many, many years and need a remodel. They need to be updated. They need to be modernized in order to get market rent. And then once you do that process and you start the renovations and you're complete on your renovations, then you take it to the next step of refinancing out. So having a local lender in your area where you do your business in your market, finding someone who's willing to and able to do a cash out refinance and give you the terms that you need in order to pull your money out, right? And we'll dive into that shortly on what that looks like as far as like how I analyze a deal and how I run my numbers. And then at that point, you pay back your private money investor, or maybe you take their funds again and you roll it into another deal. And I call that the snowball effect, right? And that's what we've been able to do for the last 2.5 years, me and my business partner, Sean. So ultimately, that's kind of like a brief synopsis without diving too deep, in which we'll dive deeper here in a short, a few seconds once we go over those numbers.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with everything you said. And just so people understand, so it's extremely important, just like you emphasized in the beginning, that the property you find needs to have a value add upside to it. You cannot find something, even if it's off market, but you find something that's valued, or the seller's asking exactly what a market would pay for it. Like that's not a, and you can't do anything to it, to whether it's adding apartments, adding bedrooms, or increasing rents because they've been under rented. If the property is 100% like current, like rents are market, you can't add anything. There's, only room for 4 apartments. That's what's in there already. Can't add any bedrooms. There's nothing you can do to it. It's not really a good BRRRR candidate in that case, because exactly the reason is, even if you're financing it with 100% private money, so you're borrowing 100%, or you're using 100% of your own money, you're not going to be able to get a refinance at 100% of its value, because banks just don't do that. We've seen maybe 85%, G? Like the high.
I'd say on average, it's 80% loan of value,
Yeah.
especially in our market. Some other markets, they don't even offer that, 75% loan of value.
Exactly.
Right? So you need to be able to make sure that you're able to pull, that 80% out of it with having that additional equity still left in the building, right? So that's important. Yep. And we can dive into, shortly how like you can analyze that and figure that out. But yeah, like if you're not able to do that, then you're just buying a traditional deal. Like that's what it comes down to. You're buying something that, if you do refinance out, you're leaving 20% into it. And like you could have just done that with any property at that point, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not scalable in my opinion, because
Right.
unless you're a doctor with $2 million at hand, you might be able to buy a handful of properties with that, but you're capped out at a certain point because all your cash is spent and out there, right? So
Exactly.
average person might be able to do 1 or 2 deals a year by just buying the traditional method. So
right. And doing it the way Giovanni's doing it, even at the age that he's doing it at, this is how he's able to scale. I mean, 45 units in 2.5 years, 3 years, that's pretty unheard of for conventional financing and, market purchases, putting 20% down. You're just not going to do it unless you're a millionaire already, in which case, why are you doing it exactly? You might save yourself some headaches and just,
like if I bought like on average, 1 3-unit every year using traditional financing the last 2.5 years, I'd have maybe 6 units, if that, right? So definitely, I mean, it's a great way to start. Don't get me wrong, sure. But in order to scale and in order to, for me, I want to build financial freedom. I knew I had to take it to the next level. And the BRRRR method was exactly that.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's talk about the deal that you want to break down for us. I'm going to share a little summary here on screen, and then we can kind of get into and discuss that. You can give us some of the background and story on this. So let's just start with, what is this property? Obviously, people can see that it says 6 units. What exactly is this property, and how did you get into it?
So this is a deal that I bought here in upstate New York. Bought it in February of 2022, so just last year. At the time, I was 23 years old, and it was my 23rd rental unit. So I had to spin on that for a while. I kind of used that as a marketing tool across my pages, which worked. But I purchased that for $250,000. Again, it was an off-market deal. It was through our brokerage, actually. One of my teammates that I brought onto the team had access to it. And the seller, she was 96 years old. One of the units in there was condemned, which means it was uninhabitable. And there were 2 tenants in there that were not paying their rent because they were using COVID as an excuse. So basically, this person at 96 years old, there was no possible way that she would be able to get this building back to life by renovating it, getting the right people in there. She was pretty much tapped out. She was done. She just wanted to be done with the property. Her kids had no interest in inheriting it. And she was happy with getting the price point that she wanted, which at the time was, she actually wanted a little bit less, and we offered her a little bit more. And then our all-in costs on this, after our renovation and holding costs, we put probably about $100,000 in our renovation costs, right? By putting new siding on it, updated the windows. Could see in that after photo, we put new Trex decking, vinyl posts up, a brand new roof on it. And then I renovated, out of the 6 apartments, 5 out of the 6 apartments were completely renovated. And when I say completely renovated, and we'll show you some more photos here shortly after, and we can dive into that, but updated with new flooring, fresh paint, kitchens, new bathrooms, and ultimately made it a modernized, clean space for any tenant, right? So I'm able to get market value on it.
Just so people can see the before and afters, I think it's pretty powerful to see that.
So those are the before and afters. Again, ugly red barn looking building on the left, and now brand new nice blue building on the right, right? Updated the landscaping on the outside, something I normally don't do, but I said we had some extra funds and it was nice out in the summertime, so we did it. I had one of my buddies from high school actually help me out before he was going to the Marine Corps, and he helped do that as some side work. Again, you can see the bathrooms clean, modernized, new vanities, new kitchen cabinets. That unit, we did some floating shelves as a different approach, modernized look, a little bit cheaper because I don't have to put upper shelving in, but the tenants like it. And
gotta love the green cabinets from before, right?
Yeah, those are crazy. So actually, that unit, those tenants, they probably smoked in there for like the last 8 years. It smelled horrific, like disgusting. And like I said, to go through, put kills on the walls, get it back to life. A lot of air fresheners, but it smells clean, new on the inside now. That was a unit that was condemned. The bathroom looked exactly like that when I closed on it. And then there's the new bathroom to the right. So completely brand new tub surround, all new vanity, flooring, everything. That one, we ended up painting those cabinets, but turned out all right. New countertops, new flooring throughout, updated with new appliances. So again, clean, modernized look that any person would want to live in and occupy. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that was using private money, and then we went ahead and refinanced out. I'll go back to this sheet, and we ended up getting the building appraised out after repair value for $525,000. So I went through a local lender, actually called Trustco Bank here in our upstate New York area. I'll give them a plug. My mortgage lender, Bill Chow, awesome guy. He's in the commercial department over there. Gave us 80% loan to value at the 525 number, which ended up being, I think, if my math serves me correctly, like right around 460. And then after our all said and done with all our closing costs and everything like that, we were able to cash out right around $45,000 after the refinance. And now after all expenses and everything on the building, after accounting for a mortgage and all those expenses, we cash flow right around $1,600 a month positive. And I split that between me and my partner. But we brought the rents from what they were, $4,200 a month, to $6,275 in the course of, this took us 6 months.
And I mean, I think this deal just exemplifies the sort of the success that someone could have with the BRRRR method. You're hitting on every single cylinder over here. Basically, you have a deal that you didn't put any of your money into. You were able to pull all the private financing, someone else's money that you used for both the purchase and the construction cost back out of it. You also were able to get an additional $45,000 as tax-free money in your pocket that you can reuse for something else or for your own personal expenses at a I'm sure, pretty decent interest rate at the time when you did the refi, right?
I think this one was right around 5%.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, and rates have gone up significantly since then. But so, and you have 20% of equity still in this building, and you're cash flowing $1,600 a month. So I think for anybody who's interested in really considering doing this seriously and getting into real estate investing, personally, I don't think there is a better strategy, and I'm sure you agree with me, than the BRRRR strategy if you have some experience, right? Because talk about that little aspect a little bit, because obviously it's a lot of moving parts here. You mentioned the construction. There's got to be some headaches and some things that come along with managing all of that, right?
100%. Yeah, I would say that it's definitely trial and error over time, but my recommendation to anyone starting out as a real estate investor, period, whether it's the BRRRR method, whether it's buying your first, multifamily property, whether it's a house hack, I don't care what it is, definitely have a mentor, right? Or have someone that you can fall back on and you can talk to and learn from their mistakes, what they did right, what they did wrong. And that was you and Vinny, ultimately. You guys are my mentors. And I replicated what worked for you guys, and I also learned what you struggle with maybe on a day-to-day basis or what didn't work. And I try to implement that and how to make that better. But really, once you get, it's great, again, to have a mentor, but then you go out and do it yourself. That's one thing, right? And a lot of it sometimes is trial and error, especially with trying to find contractors, right? It may take a handful of contractors to finally find that right fit. And the same goes for maybe what you do on the inside of the units. Maybe you realize that it doesn't make much sense to rip out all the cabinets. Maybe in this unit, it makes the most sense to paint the cabinets, right? And add new hardware. So really, it's all trial and error. But I'd say having a good game plan in place as an investor is number one. And then number two is having a mentor, someone that you can fall back on that will hold you accountable and will be able to guide you along the way